So, there's this IPO coming up for Stallion India Fluorochemicals, and it looks kind of interesting.
Oh, yeah, the one in the specialty gases business, right? I was actually just looking into that. I mean, it seems like they have a pretty wide reach in the industry.
Yeah, exactly. They've been around since 2002 and have 4 plants across India, which I think like gives them a pretty solid presence.
Absolutely. That multi plant setup gives them a nice advantage in terms of logistics and supply chain efficiencies. It's kind of like having multiple kitchens if you're running a big restaurant.
That's a good analogy. Now, the IPO is opening on January 16th and closing on January 20th. So, pretty soon. And the price range is set at 85 to 90 rupees. And, that seems okay.
Yeah, I think that price range makes it accessible for different types of investors. And actually, the minimum investment is 14,850 rupees for one lot, which includes 165 shares.
Okay, that's good to know. I guess that puts it within reach of a lot of folks. What about the total issue size? I couldn't really get a clear grasp on it.
Well, the total issue size is about 199.45 crore rupees, and it's a mix of a fresh issue and an offer for sale. They are issuing around 160.73 crore rupees worth of new shares, and about 38.72 crore rupees are shares being sold by existing shareholders. So it's a pretty sizable offering overall.
Okay, so like they're raising new capital for the company, but some of the existing folks are also cashing out, I guess, right?
Exactly. It's a pretty common strategy for companies going public. It's like baking a cake for a party. You bake a fresh cake, but also sometimes bring a cake from a past event if you know the guests love it.
That makes sense. I saw they're going to be listed on both BSE and NSE, and the tentative listing date is January 23rd, which is like pretty quick after the closing.
Right. The quick turnaround is always nice because it gives investors like a timely sense of how the market is reacting to their shares and, whether their investments are performing as anticipated.
So, going a bit deeper, they manufacture specialty gases like HFCs and HFOs, and that's supposed to be a growing market.
Yes, according to some research, the fluorochemicals market is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 10.3%. So it looks promising, especially with their focus on automotive industries.
So, like the increasing demand for these gases is a good sign for them, I guess.
Precisely. And that's where their strategic operations come in. It's like catching the wave at the right moment, if you know what I mean, with a high growth market to leverage.
Yeah, that makes sense. I noticed they are talking about using the funds for working capital, some semiconductor stuff, and a new blending facility.
That's correct. The funds from the fresh issue will primarily be used for three main things. They need to fund their working capital, set up a facility for semiconductor and specialty gas debulking, and a refrigerant blending facility.
Okay, so a mix of expansion and operational needs, right? And that kind of feels like, I guess, solid use of capital.
Exactly. A good balance of strategic investments and day to day operational funding. Think of it like planting seeds and also watering existing plants. Both are crucial for growth.
Now, are there any risks that they, point out in their documents or anything we should be aware of?
Definitely. They mention that their revenue is largely dependent on sales of refrigerant gases and they're limited to specific geographical areas. That's like relying on one type of crop and one farm.
Right, that's risky. So, what if there's like a sudden dip in demand or something?
Well, they also note that increases in raw material costs could affect their results, and they import a lot of their stuff from China. So, any trade restrictions could impact them.
Okay, so potential disruptions there with the raw materials and supply chain. And that, that's something to consider, I guess.
It is, and like any company dealing with international trade, they are subject to the risks arising from fluctuations in foreign exchange rates.
Got it. That's pretty standard, I guess. But anything a little more specific to them, perhaps?
Yes, they do mention an issue with a notice from Zhejiang Sanmei Chemical Industry for a sum of about 949.85 lakh rupees. That's like a looming legal battle they're having to deal with.
Oh, wow, that's significant. What is that about?
They haven't given many specifics, but it could affect their reputation and cash flow. They've also applied for an opinion from the ICAI related to this, but it's pending, and that's like a significant uncertainty looming over their financials.
Okay, that definitely adds a layer of risk that investors need to be aware of. And, that sounds complex.
Exactly. And they've also had negative cash flows in the past, which could continue in the future. That's like a river flowing backward, which isn't ideal.
That isn't ideal, right? And I also saw that a big chunk of their revenue comes in the months of February to May.
Yes, that's true. A large portion of their turnover is concentrated in those few months, and they don't really have long term commitments with customers. So, if customers stop ordering, that could adversely affect them.
Right. And the lack of long term contracts does seem a bit worrisome. So basically, they might be facing seasonal demand and a lack of guaranteed sales, right?
Precisely. It's kind of like relying on summer tourist season for your income. You're going to be busy for a few months, but not much the rest of the year.
Makes sense. So, with all this in mind, would you say like this IPO is worth considering or is it too risky?
Well, on the one hand, they have a strong market position, experienced leadership, and a growing market. They have consistent financial performance and strong customer relationships, which are great positives.
That's a solid base to build on, I guess, but still, there are definitely those risks.
Of course, the risks are definitely something to consider carefully, especially the legal notice, negative cash flow, import issues, and seasonal concentration. So it's like weighing the good things about a cake against potential bad ingredients.
Right, that makes it a bit complex. And, I guess it would depend on the risk appetite of the investor and their analysis of all the available data.
Yeah, it's like deciding whether to go on a roller coaster. Knowing the ups and downs, you just have to assess if you're prepared for the ride.
Okay, I think I have a much clearer picture now. Thanks for walking me through all that. That was really helpful.
No problem. It's always good to have a thorough understanding of both the good and bad when it comes to investment decisions. So, are you thinking of applying?
Maybe. I'll have to really think about it now. Maybe do some more digging.
Definitely. And good luck with your decision making process. Now, what other exciting IPOs are you looking into next?